The Truth Girls. The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to give you a little update about what I've been finding out about Hurricane Irene, some new laws and proceedings, and also the possibility that the earthquake in Virginia was triggered by a nuclear blast. So first of all, I want to go back a little bit to how they've been dealing with these hurricanes, and as I said, I think using them as an excuse to do drills and martial law drills and evacuation drills. So going back to Gustav in 2008, this was from the New York Times, never again, again. So what I'd like to point out from this was, as we know, Gustav turned out to be basically a tropical storm and really didn't need all those evacuation proceedings. But here's something that I found was interesting in this article that they mention, that the people who had a car were directed to shelters run by parishes, churches, and the Red Cross, while people who didn't have a car ended up in shelters in places like Walmarts and Sam's Clubs where there were too few toilets and no showers. So it was a bit like what happened with the Astrodome during Katrina. So the better off were herded to nice shelters, and the poor were herded into basically mass containment areas. So I think it's significant in the way that they're dealing with not only evacuations but different classes of people, the poor, and kind of taking advantage of things like natural disasters to do this. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but this may have something to do with, you know, those FEMA camps that people have been talking about for years. Crime in the wake of Hurricane Irene. Now, the hurricane hit Coney Island yesterday, and it was really just a tropical storm, but there was some flooding. But what's interesting about this article is that they mentioned that Mayor Bloomberg warned that any looters caught during or in the wake of the storm will be placed in internment camps. There, you heard it, internment camps. Now, I remember, I think it was last year, was it FEMA or Department of Homeland Security? I can't remember who it was. They were hiring for internment resettlement specialists. And people were saying, well, what are they, you know, hiring all these internment specialists for? Could it be those Rex 84 camps that were set up a long time ago, supposedly to house illegal aliens? Although that's not what they're being used for, obviously. Or terrorists, that was the other reason they were set up. Are they going to be herding lots of people into these things, and are they going to be needing all this staff to intern and resettle people? I think this fits in with the natural disasters. So here you have Mayor Bloomberg admitting looters caught during or in the wake of the storm will be placed in internment camps. But as I mentioned with reference to the other article, when they evacuate people, those who have the means can go to a nice place or a decent place, and it's the poor who end up in a horrible place. So it might be the poor who would be the last to leave, because they wouldn't want to go to, you know, the Walmart where there's no toilets and no showers. So let's say there was a disaster and then you have people left behind who didn't want to evacuate for whatever reason, and then they actually are starving. They could be looting just to survive and end up in internment camps. I mean, according to what he's saying. Weekly World News even did a satire on this called "Bloomberg Looters Will Be Put in Internment Camps." And, well, they're sort of making a joke out of it, saying that Americans will be deported, and basically just deported to whatever country their ancestors came from, and that some looters, mild looters who looted products under $5 will be offered the opportunity of being sent to New Jersey instead of going to an internment camp. Haha, very funny. This is very serious. Also, police state news, this is from whatdoesitmean.com. Obama issues secret order for military raids on civilians. And here you see they've placed this coming from the FBI, Communities Against Terrorism. Basically what they're saying now is that anybody working at an army surplus store, if they should report suspicious individuals, suspicious behavior, but suspicious behavior includes, you know, buying bulk purchases of weatherproofed ammunition, things like that. So much for the Second Amendment. Also on What Does It Mean, and this is related to all this in my mind. This was from August 24th. Russia reports nuclear explosions hit vast US military tunnel network. They were saying here on August 24th that the quake in Virginia a few days ago was caused by a nuclear explosion in an underground military tunnel. And when I saw this, at first I thought, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist, it's true, but I do take things with a grain of salt until I really see something that can back it up. Because telling me, you know, a report in the Kremlin, well, okay, so says you, but, you know, I don't not believe it, but I don't necessarily take it at face value either. And then I found this from Press Corps. Seismic evidence reveals underground nuclear detonation south of Washington, D.C. And you see this graph here? So they're saying here is that the seismology charts or graphs were unusual. They say normally when a fault ruptures, energy is released in the form of seismic waves. The first waves to reach the Earth's surfaces are primary or P waves, which you see here in the little black scribble down here. That's a normal graph. But that when the quake happened in Virginia, the seismographs did not record those primary or P waves, as you see there in the green part of the graph, and that this likely shows that the quake was caused by the detonation of a nuclear device. They say that all earthquakes that are the direct result of fault rupture have the primary P waves, but nuclear detonations don't. So this is kind of like the smoking gun, as far as I'm concerned. And this comes from Washington and Lee University, so I'd say it's a pretty reputable source. Gee, I don't know why they would want to blow up their own tunnel. I can't imagine, but apparently something like that happened. Could the government be doing that, or the military? I mean, I just don't understand why they would want to do it. As far as the hurricane goes, it looked to me like a lot of hype, and I know that there were people who died, and I know that it hit some places like North Carolina pretty badly, but it wasn't what they built it up to be, and certainly not in New York. You know, they evacuated the entire subway and like shut down Manhattan for a couple of days from what I hear, and I think that was really going overboard. And like I said, they have a good track record at the National Hurricane Center, so they should have known that it wasn't going to require, you know, shutting the whole city down. So I think they're doing drills for something bigger, and, you know, hyping up natural disasters, also apparently causing earthquakes, and meanwhile taking away people's rights to arm themselves and to remain in their homes, and that if you then are caught looting or maybe just trying to survive, you could end up in an internment camp. It's official. So this paints a very bad picture. Plus, another problem is if they keep doing these kind of drills and the disasters turn out not to be so bad, well, it's going to erode people's confidence in the government, and they're not going to listen to them when there is a really bad disaster. So then what might happen is when something really big is coming, people are going to be like, yeah, I heard it all before. They stay in their homes, and then they're stuck in a position where they have to, you know, break into stores and take food to survive, possibly, and then they could be put in internment camps. I can't imagine why the government would be trying to do this, unless either they know something really bad is coming our way, or they're just tyrannical maniacs and they want to control everybody and put people in internment camps. Well, I don't want to be spreading fear here, but you heard it from Mayor Bloomberg. So let me know what you think. And thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.